everyone, and welcome to Apple Classroom. Efficiently manage Apple devices to transform your classroom. My name is Bethany Ledoux-Nugent, and I'm a visual arts teacher in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I currently teach art at the kindergarten through 5th grade level, but I also have experience at the middle and high school levels. I've always loved using technology in my classroom, and Apple Classroom has made it so much more manageable and easy for both me and my students. Before we get started, and knowing that many Wisconsin schools are currently in a virtual format, I wanted to share that Apple Classroom is not something that works for remote learning. However, I wanted to share that this app can be a huge game changer when we return to in-person instruction. The Apple Classroom app is a virtual teaching assistant. It helps you manage students' behavior by locking their devices and viewing their screens, and helps you hand things out by distributing things easily. This will all be helpful when we are back in person and having to deal with social distancing with our students. Apple Classroom is just one of many tools that can help keep all of us safe. So what is Apple Classroom? Apple Classroom is a powerful app that lets you manage your students' devices. One of the greatest things that I love about this program is that it is a simple way to send students files and to share their work. It's also a quick tool to lock student devices and direct their attention, which I love when we need a quick reminder or when it gets to be the end of class. This is also a fast way to direct students where you need them to go. You can open up apps on the students' devices or even send them to a specific website. You can see students' screens, and you can even create groups of kids. This way, when students are working together collaboratively, you can send each group the individual information that they need. To put it simply, Apple Classroom is your new best friend and teaching assistant. And yes, Apple Classroom can now manage Macs as well. So if you are in a school that has MacBooks for students instead of iPads, you will be able to manage those as well. Let's start off with a little bit of an overview. While this video is a couple of years old, it goes over the details of Apple Classroom very nicely. This will show the iPad version, but later on I will show you how you can manage iPads from a Mac.
Introducing Classroom, your new teaching assistant. Classroom on iPad is made just for teachers to help you oversee the work your students are doing, guide them through lessons, and manage their iPads.
Good morning, class!
Getting started with Classroom is easy. Just download the app, create a new class, give it a name, and invite your students to join. Students accept the invitation right from their iPad. That's it. Or your school may have even set up classes for you already. You can see which students are online, the apps they open, and who's using each app.
All right, I've got something really cool to share with you guys today.
To get students excited about a new lesson, start by sharing some engaging content. iOS 11 makes it even easier to multitask. Directly from the Files app in the dock, just drag and drop presentations or reading materials to your students. You can even share a website by simply dragging a URL from Safari. The website opens instantly on every student's iPad, so they can dig in and start learning.
Cool, right? Okay, for the next activity, you'll be working in groups.
Classroom makes it easy to organize your class into activity groups. Simply give the group a name and select the students you want to include in a group. That's it. You're ready to start activities. Start your group activities with apps with just a few taps on your iPad. Simply select a group and find the app you want. You can even keep students in the app by locking it. Then just tap to open. The app opens at the same time on each student's iPad in the group, so they can start creating and learning.
Remember, if you have any questions, I'm right here.
Keep track of the work students are doing right from your iPad. Students can share files and links with you at any time. When you're ready to review, just tap to open them. And when you're done, tap back to Classroom. Need to see what your students see? With Screen View, you can look at all your students' iPad screens in real time. Tap any student's screen to get a closer look at their work. While you're watching, The status bar on student iPads turns blue, letting them know you're ready to help.
Hey everybody, check this out. Let me show you what Noah's doing.
If your class has Apple TV, you can quickly showcase students' work as it's happening. With AirPlay seamlessly integrated into Classroom, a student's iPad screen can be projected and shared with peers. Sharing student work is a fun and easy way to build confidence and celebrate success. As you get ready to wrap up your class, you can lock each student's iPad to get everyone's attention.
All right, everybody, let's wrap up for today.
When you end the class session, a class summary provides an overview of your student's activity during class, like the apps used, items shared with you, and how each student spent their time. With Classroom on iPad as your new teaching assistant, you're free to focus on teaching, so your students can focus on learning.
Next, let's talk about what Apple Classroom requires from students. First, we'll go over the student setup on an iPad. These are the steps that students need to follow to join Apple Classroom. The first thing students need to do is go to Settings. Next, they need to make sure to turn on their Bluetooth, and when you are inviting students, they will be able to see a classroom icon that shows up in their list. When they click on the classroom icon, they will see a link that says to add your class. They will need to type in their name and the code, and then click Add in the corner. Once they've joined your class, the students will have some options appear under their settings. Under Allow Teacher To, it is important to set both to Always. This will make it so that you can always view the student's screen and you can always lock their iPad. I strongly recommend setting both of these this way so that students are automatically locked and automatically share their screen with you at any time. I would also recommend telling students what your policy will be if they end up changing them away from Always. For example, if a student sets it up to Always right now so that you can view their screen and lock it, but later goes back and changes it so that it denies you from locking their iPad, I would let them know that there will be consequences for this decision. Being clear and concise from the beginning is always helpful when it comes to using technology with students. Next, let's talk about student setup on a Mac. On a Mac, students will need to go to System Preferences. Under Classroom, they will see a contact card, and they can edit that to add their name and a photo. They will need to choose how to join classes. If they choose to join classes automatically, when they come in your class and you begin class, they will automatically be joined. At the end of class, when they leave the room, they will automatically leave the class as well. You can also set this to manually, however, I don't recommend doing that. If they set it to manually, they will have to join their class every time that they come in and leave whenever they're ready to end class. It is also important to have students adjust their settings for locking and viewing. I strongly recommend to require students to set these to Always so that you, again, can always lock or view their iPad screen. While students may be hesitant to allow you to lock and view their screen, remind them that that is one of the expectations of using technology in your classroom. I've found that students are usually okay with this, and if they're doing the right job on their iPad, there's nothing for them to be worried about with you locking or viewing their screen. Now, you may be thinking that your kids will just turn off Bluetooth or not allow you to control their device, and this is something that does happen on occasion. While they might do this, I just would be prepared for it and explain their consequences ahead of time. One thing that I always tell my teachers and my students is that the option of taking their iPad away is always there as well. They can always go back to doing their work the traditional way, and most students really like working on their iPads, and so for most students, that's enough of a deterrent. They love using the technology and they want to be able to do that. And so for the most part, this has eliminated a lot of my problems. I have had very few times where I've had to actually lock students out or take an iPad away. And so I think that just being upfront with your expectations is really, really helpful in doing this. I also wanted to let you know that if students do turn their settings to ask or never, you will get a notification. So again, if they change their setting from that always allow to always allow you to lock or view their screen, if they change it to ask or never, you will get a notification on your screen so that you know that they've changed that setting. And if a student turns off Bluetooth, they will appear offline on your screen. So that would be an appropriate time to have a conversation with that student and get them back online. The next thing I wanted to share is a quick demonstration of Apple Classroom. For this example, I will be showing how I'm using my Mac to control a set of iPads. Remember that you can also use a Mac to control a set of Macs, or you can use an iPad to control either Macs or iPads as well. When you first open Classroom on your Mac, this is the screen that you will see. Click on Get Started. Next, type the name you want your students to see. Next, select a photo. Next, click Continue. Next, we will need to create your first class. Click on the Create Class button. Type a class name and add a description if you would like. Next, choose an icon for your class. Then, you need to choose a color for your course card. Last, click on the Create button. Now that our class has been created, we can click on the class to add students. The next thing we will need to do is invite our students. I will be inviting students to join via their iPads. When I click on the Invite Students button, I will now see this screen. At the top is the code that my students will need to join. In following the directions, I will ask my students to go to Classroom, and in Settings on their iPad, they will enter the code to join the class. Because my iPad's Bluetooth is turned on, you can see that the Classroom button has now appeared. When I tap on Classroom on the iPad, I have a new class invitation for 3D art. When I tap on that blue button, I can add my information. In this screen, you can also have your students add a photo. I highly recommend doing this step. To insert a photo, have the students tap on the circle that has their initials. They can then choose to take a new photo or choose one from their camera roll. Next, the student will need to enter the code as provided. Be sure to remind your students to tap the Add button in the upper right-hand corner of their box. You can now see that the test student has shown up on the Mac. Once all of the students have joined, click on the Add button to add all of them to your class. I now have the ability to control this test iPad. For example, if I wanted to open a specific app, I could click on the App button, and I would be able to choose an app to open on the iPad. For this example, I will open the clock. Note that you also have the option of locking the students in the app after opening. As you can see, the clock app opened on my iPad immediately. You can also navigate students to a website by using this button, or share their screen to an Apple TV via AirPlay. Let's take a closer look at sharing a link with students. When you click on the link button, you will get options for opening your Safari favorites or reading list, or opening books that you have available on your computer. If you don't see a website that you need to share with your students, you can simply go to Safari and airdrop it from there. Let's take a closer look at sharing a link from Safari. Simply navigate to any website, and using the share arrow, you will be able to share via AirDrop. When you click on AirDrop and have Classroom open, it will automatically allow you to AirDrop to your class. When the AirDrop window opens, simply select the class that you have active in Apple Classroom to send the website to all of the students' devices. I also wanted to share how you can AirDrop a file to your class. First, locate the file within Finder. Select it and then click on the share arrow. Finally, click on AirDrop. When the AirDrop window opens, you will be able to select the class that is currently active in Apple Classroom. The file will be sent and will be received by your students as soon as they accept it. I also wanted to show you how you can send a file straight from an app. In this example, I will be using Pages, but similar steps will be followed if you were trying to do this in Keynote or within Numbers. First, I like to open my document and share it with my students on my smartboard or on a projected screen. This way, I can explain today's directions to the students so that they know exactly what to do when they receive the document. Then I can quickly and easily AirDrop it right from the app. I'm going to click on Share, Send a Copy, and AirDrop. I now need to decide what kind of document I would like to send. In this case, I will use Pages, so I will just click Next. Then you will see that in the AirDrop window, you have your active class from Apple Classroom available. Click there and it will send the file to your students. Students will need to click to accept the file. Now that we've learned how to share files, let's head back to the Apple Classroom app to learn about some of the other features. If you want to view the students' screens, simply tap on the Screens button here, and you will see a preview of their screen. On the student's iPad, they will get a button that is asking them if they want to allow, always allow, or deny access. I strongly recommend having your students always allow. Next, you can lock the student's iPad if need be. This is very helpful, especially at the end of class. When you lock a student's iPad, this is what it will look like. The very first time that you try to lock a student's iPad, they will also get the option to allow, always allow, or deny. I strongly recommend choosing always allow. Now they will see a screen that says that their iPad has been locked by their teacher. To unlock the student's iPad, simply click on the Unlock button. You are also able to hide apps that are on student iPads and mute the sound on student iPads. This can be very helpful, especially when using apps that are a little noisy. Next, you can add a group of students by using the plus button over here. This is your student Dropbox. Any items that students have AirDropped to you will appear in the Dropbox. It is important to note that your Dropbox is not saved from class session to class session. If you want to save files that your students have sent you to keep and refer back to, you will need to copy them to somewhere on your computer. This can be done by dragging and dropping the files into Finder. Last, you have your Invite button. This is where you can go to continue to add students to your class. When you have finished with your class, simply click on the End Class button. You will see an overview of what apps were used by the student, and you can click on it for a more detailed look. Finally, when you're all finished, click on the Done button. You are now ready to begin adding another class. Next, I wanted to give you a look at an example day in my Apple Classroom. First, when students arrive and I'm giving directions, I lock their iPads. This way they're able to keep their attention focused on me and on hearing the directions for our class period. When it comes time to distribute materials, I AirDrop my materials through Classroom. Depending on what type of file it is, sometimes I will go to the individual app on my computer. For example, if I'm going to share a Pages document, sometimes I find it easiest to open the document on my computer and share it with the kids on my screen first, then AirDrop the file to them through Classroom. When it comes time to check in with students, I'm very busy walking around and seeing what they're doing on their art projects. By carrying my iPad around with me throughout the class, I'm able to view their screens and see what everyone is up to. This is very helpful for keeping students on track or giving them reminders when they maybe missed a step in the project. Throughout class, I often share student work by projecting it in front of the room. By connecting my iPad to my Mac via AirPlay, I'm able to simply share the Classroom app and tap on each student's screen as I want to share it. This is very helpful and makes the sharing process go much quicker. When it's time for students to turn in their work, I have them airdrop it to my Classroom inbox. Then I copy it to a folder on my desktop. While you may be thinking of this as a way for students to turn in digital work, I also use this for having students turn in pictures of paper projects. For example, if students are making a drawing, at the end of each class I have them take a picture of it and send it to my Dropbox. This way I'm able to quickly click through and see where everyone ended up at the end of class. Finally, when it comes to finishing up work for the day, I lock down the iPad so that the students are able to focus on me and hear our directions for the next class. Using Apple Classroom in my classroom has totally transformed the ways that I'm able to use technology and has made my classroom run much more smoothly and efficiently. My students can get their materials instantly rather than having to search for the app that they need or try and find the right document on their own. I'm able to see what all of my students are doing with just a quick glance at my iPad screen, and when I need students' attention, I quickly can lock them in so that I can have their focus. All of these features have helped me to be able to have less reminders for behaviors and more productive work time with my students. I strive for my classroom to be an engaging environment where students feel comfortable taking risks and trying new things. By being efficient with my use of technology, my students have more time to be creative and share their voices through their art. Before we wrap up, I wanted to share some resources that I have put together on my website for you. On this page, you will see information that is related to Apple Classroom. This is the video that I had shared with you that went over the Apple Classroom features. Additionally, I have the teacher requirements listed here, as well as the student requirements. There are also posters that you can use to help your students with remembering the steps to AirPlay and AirDrop. Finally, there's some information on incorporating choice for students in projects. Additionally, I wanted to point out that I also have app overview videos available that may be helpful in your teaching. These videos are meant to be student-friendly overviews in which your students can simply watch the video and get an idea of what they need to do for the app. This is especially helpful if you're trying to introduce students to an app that you're not very familiar with, or if they want to work independently on something that you don't have time to introduce to the entire class. Simply send them here to watch the video and they should be able to get started working. Feel free to explore other resources on these pages or reach out to me if you have any questions. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to thank you for attending. I also wanted to provide my contact information. If you need anything, please feel free to email me or reach out to me on Twitter. I also wanted to share a couple of important links that I have on my website for you. The presentation link includes some of the resources that I shared today. I also shared a page with freebies that has some posters, binder templates, and other things that you might find helpful as a teacher. I also included a page of app videos, which are friendly app overviews for students to use if they are trying a new app. Finally, I shared my Art Without Excuses page. On this page, I have some helpful videos for incorporating art into the regular education classroom. Feel free to use any of these resources and reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you again for attending and have a wonderful rest of the day.